I'm fine,
Hi, good
absolutely.
evening. Good evening.
Very, very, very nice meeting you. It's
Yeah,
really
thank
wonderful
you.
indeed.
So happy to have you. Yeah, so happy to have you. So, shall we start?
Yeah, yeah, please. Hope the
Neha,
net
okay?
will work.
Shall we? Okay? Okay. Yeah,
So Neha,
please,
before we
please
start,
mute your.
Yeah, Ashish saying something.
Neha,
मुझे
yeah.
I would like to ask a couple of
Shall
questions in the middle of your discussion.
okay. Please
After
mute
I
the
your
may have to read
mic.
some quotations. Yeah, yeah, no problem. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, welcome to all of you. And this is, as we know, 128th meet of Srijan Samvad. Last 13 years we have been having this every month. And we include literature, cinema, and different kinds of arts. Today we are so happy to have among ourselves renowned cine director, Mr. Gautam Ghosh. Now, um, Mr. Gautam Ghosh came to Jamshedpur many times. So I have been seeing him for a long, long time. But earlier I never dared to go close to him or talk to him. A few years ago when he came with Shankarji and Shambhunaji, that time we had snacks together and we sat. There also he's such a quiet person. We hardly spoke with each other. And but it was very nice. We had some photographs also of that evening. And after that, we started talking, and we had one very beautiful this talk on international forum from New York. People were organizing, and there we both spoke. I was the moderator, and he spoke about films. Then I had some courage to talk to him because I have been seeing his films. Almost all his films I have seen. Some films I couldn't understand fully because they didn't have the English
Subtitle.
subtitles. Yeah, and he has. Then I talked to him, and he has promised me that he will have
I will.
the subtitles and he will send the link. So nice of him. And
No, no, they are
actually,
under
we are.
restoration. You'll get it.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we are planning to have a book on him, and his 75th birthday is coming. So we hope to bring out the book at that time. And in that connection, let's see how much work we can do. We have to see the films, we have to write, we have to interview him. And today is, of course, it is a public platform. So mostly he is going to speak. He is going to speak on collective memories of time. Now, so I welcome him. I welcome Dr. Neha Tiwari, who is HOD of Mass Comm department here of one of the colleges, that is Karim City College. She also teaches in the English department of the same college. And we two are very closely linked with the department. Invites me regularly, and it is under Kolhan University. So she will be today mostly talking to him, and I welcome her. Now we have with us Mr. Ashish Kumar Singh. He is from New Delhi. He is the founder of New Delhi Film Foundation. He is very much interested in films. His forum is planning many things in the area of film, like interviews and magazine and book reviews, film reviews, all those things. So we give him all the best wishes for his future endeavors. He is very versatile, very active. Both of them are very active members of Srijan Samvad. So I welcome him also. And now, because it is already 4:08, we started 2 minutes late, so I won't take much time. Today, mostly we are going to listen to Mr. Gautam Ghosh. In between, to just help him to just have some ideas what we want to know, Dr. Neha Tiwari and Mr. Ashish Kumar will be asking some questions. At the same time, with live film, live this Facebook live, Srijan Samaj Facebook live, many people are with us. I welcome all of them, and whenever they have any doubt or they want to ask any question, they are most welcome. We will be addressing their questions also, and um, hope that Mr. Ghosh will be answering their questions. So we are going to have a very short and sweet talk because so many people are with us. So once again, I welcome all of you. And now I invite Dr. Neha to start the program and conduct the program. Dr. Neha Tiwari.
Thank you so much, Vijay ma'am. And as we all know that the presence of Mr. Gautam Ghosh is something which is magical for all the film fraternity. And this time, not just the lovers of cinema are together, but the students of cinema are also there and who are going to be benefited by this program. Uh, uh, when I started researching about Mr. Gautam Ghosh, he, with each cinema and with each work, I just got carried away by the amount of work he has done. And we are very happy that when we are meeting in 2023, he's completing his active years of cinema, right from first of his documentary, which got released in 1973, and today it's 2023. So 50 years, long 50 years of his work, in which he has made 24 films and 8 documentaries and 1 short film. That is what his profile says. And it's 24 films, feature films, full-fledged films. That too in 50 years, and we all know, how much it takes to make a cinema. It is something which we can be very proud of, that we have today, Mr. Gautam Ghosh. If we read his profile, I don't think that anyone else has this kind of caliber which he has shown in past 50 years. That he has been nominated, he has won for almost in n number of segments. You may say he has been cinematographer, he is a director, he is producer, he's actor as well. That kind of versatility is difficult to know. So we can say that he has made cinema, he has read cinema, he has been into cinema altogether. So we are grateful, sir, that you have accepted our invitation. And despite your busy schedule, we know that you are in the post-production phase of your one of the films. You have accepted our request, and we are very much sure that when we are going to talk about, you are going to talk about collective memories of time, past 50 years of India, past 50 years of humanity, past 50 years of struggles, protest, revolution, all kind of tragedies which has been faced by marginalized of this country. All will come in your conversation, and we are looking forward to it. But before we invite you to talk, we have with us Mr. Ashish Kumar Singh from New Delhi Film Federation. He's going to formally introduce you. So I request Mr. Ashish to formally introduce our today's guest.
Thank you, Dr. Neha ji, Dr. Vijay ji. A warm welcome to everyone. It's an absolute honor to introduce a person who is well known in the whole world for his great contribution to cinema. Mr. Gautam Ghosh, a true luminary in the world of cinema and a visionary artist who has enriched our lives with his excellent, exceptional creativity and storytelling prowess. Gautam, an acclaimed filmmaker, stands as a beacon of excellence in the realm of cinema. He is known for his profound commitment to social and humanitarian causes. Many of his films delve into the complexities of human relationships, social injustice, and human spirits of resilience. Through his lens, he has also shed light on marginalized people, marginalized voices, importance of empathy and understanding. I would like to read out a short profile of him in Hindi also. गौतम घोष जी का जन्म कोलकाता में 1950 में हुआ। उन्होंने कलकत्ता यूनिवर्सिटी से ग्रेजुएशन किया और 1973 से डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्में बनानी शुरू कर दी। इस दौरान वो थिएटर में एक्टिव रहे और फोटो जर्नलिस्ट के तौर पर भी काम किया। 1979 में उन्होंने पहली फीचर फिल्म माँ भूमि बनाई, जिसे बेस्ट तेलुगु फिल्म का नेशनल अवार्ड मिला, सिल्वर लोटस। 1982 में बांग्ला फिल्म दखल बनाई, जिसे बेस्ट फीचर फिल्म का नेशनल अवार्ड मिला, जिसे गोल्डन लोटस या स्वर्ण कमल भी कहते हैं। 1984 में हिंदी फिल्म पार बनाई, जो अपने आप में एक इतिहास है। पार पैरेलल सिनेमा के दौर की एक लैंडमार्क फिल्म मानी जाती है। वो दौर जिसमें मुख्य धारा के सिनेमा का बोलबाला था और जो सोशली सिग्निफिकेंट मूवीज थी जिनको पैरेलल सिनेमा कहा जाता था, उनको जानने के और उनको देखने के स्रोत बहुत ही सीमित थे। ये फिल्म बहुत चर्चित हुई और हिंदी के आम दर्शकों के बीच भी इसकी बहुत चर्चा हुई। कई जगह ये रिलीज हुई और उसने बहुत अच्छा व्यवसाय भी किया। इस फिल्म के लिए नसीरुद्दीन शाह और शबाना आजमी को बेस्ट एक्टर का नेशनल अवार्ड मिला। इसको बेस्ट फीचर फिल्म का भी नेशनल अवार्ड मिला। इसके अलावा भी देश विदेश में इसकी बहुत चर्चा हुई। उसके बाद ऐसी फिल्मों की एक लंबी कतार है जिसमें सिनेमाई कौशल के साथ मानवीय संवेदनाओं के जरिए और सामाजिक सरोकारों और मुद्दों के प्रति उनकी प्रतिबद्धता, उनका सोशल कमिटमेंट
Sorry
देखने
for interruption. Hello.
Yes sir, do you want to say something?
Actually, the Marvel movie received the Nandi Award of the state, not the Silver Lotus of National Award. This
Right.
mistake is there in the way. Anyway,
Right. माँ भूमि,
carry on.
ओके, द तेलुगु वन। इसके बाद ऐसी फिल्मों की एक लंबी कतार है जिसमें उन्होंने अपना सोशल कमिटमेंट दिखाया और एक्सेलेंस इन सिनेमा दिखाया। अंतरजली, यात्रा, पद्मा नदीर माझी, पतंग, गुड़िया, देखा, आबोर ओरोन्यो, यात्रा, कालबेला, मोनेर मानुष, शून्य अंको, शोंकचिल, राहगीर, शोएर स्मृति माला, ये वो तमाम फिल्में हैं जिन्हें देश और विदेश में बहुत पसंद किया गया और बहुत सम्मानित किया गया। 1993 में आई पद्मा नदीर माझी एक ऐसी फिल्म है जो बतौर फिल्मकार गौतम घोष की सेंसिटिविटी और सेंसिबिलिटी का एक नया पहलू लेकर सामने आई। 2003 में उनकी बनाई फिल्म आबोर अरण्येर महान फिल्मकार सत्यजीत राय की फिल्म अरण्येर दिन रात को एक तरह से ट्रिब्यूट है और उसका सीक्वल है। गौतम घोष उन फिल्मकारों में से हैं जो दर्शकों की आर्टिस्टिक एबिलिटी को अपलिफ्ट करते हैं, अपग्रेड करते हैं और उसको एक रिफाइंड टेस्ट की तरफ ले जाते हैं, और ऐसा करते हुए वो क्रिएटिव होने के साथ साथ सोशली रिलेवेंट बने रहते हैं। 2021 में गौतम घोष ने अपनी शॉर्ट फिल्म समीर स्मृति माला बनाई थी, जो कोरोना वायरस से प्रभावित दुनिया की पृष्ठभूमि में एक परिवार की कहानी कहती है। Gautam Da has made a number of very important documentary films that includes Meeting a Milestone on Ustad Bismillah Khan, Beyond the Himalayas, Land of Sand Dunes, Ray on Satyajit Ray, Impermanence on His Holiness Dalai Lama. I would also like to mention his awards and accolades. Gautam Ghosh has won 18 national awards, besides Filmfare Awards and many international awards like the Silver Balloon Award at Nantes Film Festival, UNESCO Award at Cannes Film Festival, the Grand Prix Golden Samurg at Tashkent, UNESCO Award at Venice, Fipresci Awards, Red Cross Awards at Varna Film Festival, the Golden Peacock at IFFI, International Film Festival of India. He has also won the Best Director Award at UK Asian Film Festival London for his film Rahagir that was made in 2021. He is also the only Indian to win the coveted Vittorio De Sica Award in Italy. He was awarded the knighthood of the Star of the Italian Solidarity in July 2006. A very special fact to mention about Gautam Da is that he has been the cinematographer of all his films and is an avid photographer since his teens. I've read somewhere that he was given the first camera at the age of 12 and he has the passion with camera since that age. And one more thing to mention about him, that he has also appeared on screen many times. Beyond the Clouds by Majid Majidi, a Hindi film made in Mumbai, and a couple of more films by Srijit Mukherjee, the Bengali filmmaker. And soon we will be watching his new film as a director, that is Parikrama, The Pilgrimage, which is currently under post-production. Thanks. That was introduction of Gautam Ghoshji. Over to Dr. Neha.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashishji. And now is the time when I'll request our prominent speaker, eminent speaker of today, Gautam Da, and he's going to speak on collective memories of time. And of course, this journey is going to be the cinematic journey, and of course, his personal experiences with time and with the collective memories. So I request Gautam Da to uh, take over this virtual platform to address.
Oh, I'm really humbled by your introduction, Dr. Theory and Mr. Ashish P. Singh. Uh, and actually, I don't know how to express my gratitude to this platform because, I have a very old connection with Jamshedpur. I love Jamshedpur. I have so many friends there. And in my uh, 2019 film Rahagir, where a wonderful actor, he hails from Jamshedpur, Niraj Kabir, he had acted, brilliant actor, he's from Jamshedpur. Anyway, let me start the deliberation. In the beginning, I would like to sort of say something about cinema and time, cinematic time and cinematic space, initially in the first half. And in the second half, of course, my experience of time in last, of course, 5 decades or so, I've been making films and traveling in many places of the world, and also in our countries, nook and corner of our country, as far as possible, I could do it. Anyway, let me start because today we live in a world of audiovisual, in cinema, television, web world, and in our personal handset, audiovisual all around us. It has its overpowering sort of impact in our lives. But cinema itself, cinema is not alone anymore. Initially, cinema was alone. Then now we have television, we have web world, we have so many things along with cinema. So cinema is part of the entire audiovisual world. But cinema was born with a very interesting dichotomy of change. It's an ever-changing things of cinema because cinema was born with technology and it was created by the scientists, not the artists. Initially, it was silent cinema, and as you know, the history that for many years, great artists, great filmmakers, cameramen, producers, they had really developed the art of cinema, the language of cinema. And when in the 20s it reached its height, in the optimum level, when people consider cinema as art, then the scientists and technologies, they brought out a new element, that is sound element in motion. And initially it was a disastrous situation because entire beauty and aesthetic of cinema had a nosedive. Cinema had gone back to the musical opera or very dialogue-oriented theater. It lost its language, it lost its purity, it lost its visuals. But and also that's why you remember a great film made by Charlie Chaplin, that great film, The Modern Times, where film was produced during the sound era, early sound era. But Chaplin did not use dialogues. He did not follow the sound film structure. Only there was one scene, and there he was dancing and speaking, that too gibberish, not the real dialogue. And it was very ironical, in my opinion, that particular scene. And Chaplin mentioned that still I love the language of silent cinema. However, the cinema was survived again by the great artists, great filmmakers who really could find a new language of sound cinema, and it survived. So, it's always, with the change of technology, perception changes. Uh, so after suffering for many years, couple of years, it stood up, the cinema, sound cinema, with its sound elements, with its very artistic use of sound. Then, people used to, got used to it, the sound cinema, and a talkie, they used to call it talkie. But, and then again, another change, the scientists, they brought color into film, into monochrome. So black and white film had gone. Color said goodbye to black and white film. Of course, now we can use black and white in the digital form, but initially black and white was the only medium on-screen experience, which in my opinion was very exciting, because you see the entire world in black and white. So it's so abstract. But for the viewers, it's not so difficult. We know that color of the sky is blue, but in black and white you see deep gray. No problem at all. Black and white had its own aesthetics, but it had gone with the introduction of color, mostly gone. Because, what happens, scientists, they bring out, all the technologies, they bring out new element, and the creators, they create a language, they create a presentation of that particular invention. But in between, there is a market force that we don't understand. The market force says, black and white, goodbye, no more. I need color now. Oh, then market force says, analog, no more. I need digital now. So it's like that. It's has been always in transient. And now I don't know what will happen with AI, because, AI will play a part in cinema. Of course, there is a protest in Hollywood and many other places. I'd seen a small excerpt shown by a friend of mine in Kerala, that they had recreated Godfather sequence with Mammootty and Mohanlal, two great big stars of Kerala, through AI. So you cannot ignore, or you cannot reject this new invention. You have to live with it. So this is very interesting. So many things have changed. But one basic tenet has not changed. That is cinematic time. The most powerful tool of cinematic art. Cinematic time in cinematic space. You see, what is cinematic time? One can tell a story of 1,000 years in 2 hours. One can tell a story of 2 hours in 2 hours. I give an example of a film made by Satyajit Ray, Kanchenjunga. It's a story of 2 hours shown in 2 hours, a real-time story. You can make a film of 5 hours out of a story of 5 minutes. So cinema can expand or squeeze time. Cinema can go back and forth in telling the narrative. So it's very interesting. Cinemas, sorry, this time element of cinema. Suppose if I ask all of you, why you go to movie theaters, why you go to watch films? Tell me the reason. Maybe, somebody will say that, well, I go to the movie theaters to get entertained. Someone might say, well, I go to the movie theater to spend some time. Someone says, okay, I want to learn something from a movie. But yes, of course, the reasons are obvious. But if you think more deeply, the answer would be to experience time, the cinematic time. Whenever you watch something on the screen, is a matter of the past. A film was conceived, it was shot, edited, scored, mixed the soundtrack, and everything, all in past sentences. Yet we get a thrill of something happening in front of us. It is present, it's with us. I'm riding with the hero. I'm dancing with the hero. It's so present, but no, it's all past. Actually, there is no phenomena called present. Present is a fraction between past and the future. As I've been talking to you, it is becoming immediate past. Just in a second, in a fraction. Actually, in the modern world, we spend our lives in linear time, from birth to death, following mostly the Julian calendar. Julian calendar begins with Adam and Eve and ends with the Judgment Day. So that's the belief of many people. So, but for practical sort of things, in our lifestyle, we follow the Julian calendar, means a linear calendar. So, but there is another concept of time that is cyclic time. Many ancient civilizations like Aztec, ancient Greece, and our own civilization, Buddhist and Jain period, many, our ancient civilization believed in cyclic time. You find in Mahabharata so many sort of passage of cyclic time. After a few thousands of years, they meet. What few thousands of years? It's a cyclic time, which now, of course, the cyclic time is very important in space science, in cosmology. It's very, very important. So this linear and cyclic, these are very important. Let me quote a very interesting passage, from a great historian by Romila Thapar. Romila Thapar. The name of the book is Time as a Metaphor of History. I quote, "Cyclic time is continuous without a beginning or end. The cycle returns with unchanging regularity and in unchanging form. This amounts to a refusal of history, for no event can be particular or unique, and all events are liable to be repeated in next cycle. Such a sense of time, based on what had been called an orgy of figures, can only support the philosophical notion of the world being illusory. The linear form, by contrast, was said to have a beginning and an end, and emphasized the uniqueness of the particulars which made events non-recurring. This was said to liberate from repetition, deny the reversibility of time, and distinguish history from myth. Where myth belonged to a distant time or timelessness, both cyclic and linear time at one level linked with the ideas of cosmology, the theory of the universe as an ordered whole, and of the possible laws which govern it. Cosmological time, therefore, relates to the universe in almost infinite, and where it is cyclic, consists in constructions of many cycles of time, setting out, as it were a calendar for the universe. And in cinema, in cinematic expression, we can combine both linear and cyclic time. Thus, for a filmmaker, this time element is an essential tool of an expression. Because with the time element, you create the language of cinema. Let me quote another very beautiful passage from a great Russian filmmaker. All of you know the Andrei Tarkovsky, in his brilliant book, Sculpting in Time, where he says, what is the essence of the director's work? We could define it as sculpting in time. Just as a sculptor takes the lump of marble and inwardly conscious of the features of his finished product, a finished piece removes everything that is not part of it. So the filmmaker, from a lump of time, made up of an enormous solid cluster of living facts, cuts off and discards whatever he does not need, leaving only what is to be an element of the finished film, what will prove to be an integral part of the cinematic image. This is very interesting. That's how we create time in cinema, and how the audience, they watch cinema with their own perception, knowing or unknowingly. This is very interesting part that uh, whatever we find nowadays, a series in OTT, web series, or contained in OTT platform, or contained on a big screen, whatever, in television, in your mobile, but time elements persist. That is very, very important facts of life. And now, well, for a filmmaker, of course, because I belong to a lucky generation. I have seen the change of time in technology. I started with black and white, the Mitchell camera, then of course color with a smaller cinematographic camera. Still, it was on film, on celluloid, and we were doing basically mono sound. Then came stereo, Dolby stereo, then digital. And now celluloid has completely gone, except in some filmmakers like Nolan. Have you seen Oppenheimer recently? What a wonderful film, and was shot in celluloid, because he or some other American filmmakers, they don't believe in digital. They still love celluloid. However, but celluloid is mostly gone all over the world, because only big production can afford celluloid camera and film. I have gone through that experience, which is also a great learning for me. And of course, you have to update yourself. If you don't update yourself with time, you are gone. You're out. I've seen so many of my colleagues, they lost their job. They didn't learn digital editing. They didn't learn digital technology and color correction. They lost their job. Laboratories were closed. So time has taken its toll on them, but can't be helped. The new technology has come. We have to adapt the new technology. And another thing, we have seen, personally, I've gone through a huge change in the society, in this socio-economic system. Because, when we were kids, I was born and brought up in Calcutta. Of course, my hometown is in erstwhile East Bengal, now in Bangladesh. We were basically refugees, at least my father's side. My mother's side settled in Calcutta, and they were well settled. But I'd seen the suffering of my relatives who had come from the other parts of the Bengal. So I was born in 1950, just 3 years after our independence. We fought for so many years for the independence, but at the same time, the independence came with bloodshed, and bloodshed by brothers, and bloodshed, all over. And actually, India was not divided. Bengal and Punjab were divided. And people of Punjab and Bengal had seen the suffering and the agony of partition. So in a way, our partition was a great victory over a colonial rule, but at the same time, a great defeat because of partition. It's a great pain. So, that is also an experience of time. And with the experience of time, you prepare yourself. And I tell you a very interesting anecdote. Jean Renoir, he made a film called River in India in the late in early 50s, not early 50s, in 48, 49, and where, Satyajit Ray was a kind of an observer during Renoir's shooting. Renoir and Mr. Sengupta, Ramananda Sengupta was his operating cameraman. He told me a fantastic story. Ramananda Sengupta said that, while we were shooting in Barakpur, there's a place called Barakpur where there were a couple of studios. And there was a train line very close to the studio. And trains were coming from East Bengal, or full of people. They were hanging all over the trains. And Renoir used to go and see, look at them, my God, why? He knew that India was partitioned. Then he said, look, if I was an Indian, I would have made film on this tragedy throughout my life. So it's a great tragedy. So time makes you rich. Time makes you experienced. Time makes you more sensible. Because, I have seen a different world as a child, even as in my teens. The world I'm watching now it's different. I must say we had a lot of problems, difficulties, but it was little more human. इंसानियत था, इंसानियत अभी कहाँ है? Of course, still there. That's why I made the film called Rahagir. Rahagir is about the sort of humanity, about the compassion of common people. So it is very interesting observing time through my life and my life of my friends, relatives. My own country had gone through many changes. We have seen so many political models, so many deadly things. And time really makes you rich. And now I would like to say that cinema, the language of cinema is, of course, is in your mobile. And with this, you can create a great memories of time. I would like to say that, whatever I have done through my films or some of my writings and whatever, it's basically, I was part of a long memories of Garland, long Garland. And the Garland was created by filmmakers from all over the world. It's a very interesting Garland. And if I could put one flower in that long garland, I'm happy and contented that I have done some social responsibility as a human being and some responsibility as a filmmaker. So this is we are part, all of us, not only filmmakers, all of, we are in the panel, we are all part of a very long collective memories of people, sometimes bad, sometimes good, sometimes horrible, sometimes very intolerant, sometimes compassionate. So that's my initial deliberation, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom, I will say, and such an insightful lecture, which was talking about existence of presence, which was talking about the cyclic nature of time, which was talking about how cinema captures time and how cinema can create a certain kind of timeline, and also that whether a timeline can be created for cinema. So lot many things have come up when you were speaking on the collective memories of time. Definitely your agony, your the trauma, of partition which you have faced, your family has faced, is something which should have been given more cinematic attempts, but that has never been made in our country. We see that World War I, World War II is always one or the other European cinema. But that kind of tragedy has never been in Indian cinema, and that's something which the new generation can look forward to, because not just to register the problems or the agony, but to learn from that pain, that it should not be repeated again, and to become more human, as Gautam sir was saying. Definitely, sir, my question would be that you have always talked about the people who have been voiceless. There was no one, who was going to talk about them. You have talked about people in power, and not many, cinemas where you have this Naxalite movement, where you are talking about the problems of the young generation and unemployment as well. Then you have this Kisan Andolan also in your cinema. And then, of course, the caste system is also then there in your cinema. You have given, like, you have kept background of Bihar, of Jharkhand, of Kolkata, Bangladesh. All these things have been in your cinema. So, how these social issues have come up in your mind uh, to look forward to make cinema on these things, when usually people are there and making a cinema on commercial themes which can make you popular, but you were always thinking about something which can make the world better. So how this process started, and you thought that this is the area in which I'm going to work.
Well, since my childhood, I was very lucky that I had wonderful parents. My mother, used to play violin, and learning music is a very, it's a compulsory thing in our family. Uh, and also, I was exposed to other kinds of arts, painting, not cinema, actually. We were not allowed to see movies in those days, but many other arts, literature, and my parents really had encouraged me to read literature and read about people of different countries. And in my teens, I got a great teacher, a theater teacher, because we had a theater group, and he taught me all kinds of techniques, voice throwing, body language, body movement, then mime, and so many things. Of course, it's about the technique of theater, a small little group, which was a kind of an avant-garde group, not a very commercial one. But also, those teachers, they taught me to become argumentative with your logic. They taught me, don't become superstitious, don't become, taboo oriented. Try to become a free thinking man. Free thinking man is the most important right of human being, that you have to think freely. You have to think logically. You have to argue with some kind of, with your logic and understanding. So, I think, and even during the college stage, it was a very turbulent time, that is in the late 60s and 70s of last century. And there was a students' movement all over the world. The movement in Sorbonne University in France, then movement in other parts of Europe, in our country, Naxalite movement, and so many things. Then there was a Vietnam War, and which was, and then immediately a Bangladesh Liberation War. So we had seen and grown up with watching the turmoil, and thought of a society where people can live with peace and harmony. And we were dreaming of an egalitarian society, which sometimes, people say it's a kind of an utopia. It never happened, because human being has all kinds of negative elements in their brain. So becoming a positive element, it takes some time. So, but you have to keep hope. That's why what you asked me is a very pertinent question. Why I try to portray the social issues, why I try to document our society, the contradiction of society, about the caste system, and about many other sort of disparities in our society, because again, it's a kind of a record of time, because I'm sure this will be useful for the future generation, for posterity, for research, because whatever I've done is basically a audiovisual documentation, and so was the writers, they did in their writings. So these are very important things, and I had a scientific mind, rather, I would say.
Definitely. Sir, this question is to Gautam Ghosh, who is also known as a poet. Uh, so, your association with this hungry movement has been established because maybe that revolutionary zeal and protest against not many things. So, would you like to speak on that, your journey as poet?
Oh, well, I'm not a poet. Well, every Bengali middle class or upper middle class Bengali, they start writing poems since they're teen, mostly when they fall in love. You know, when they fall in love, they start writing poem. I also did the same thing. And when I was ditched by my girlfriend, I'd written a long poem. So it's something different. But I am sure that the kind of association I had, some brilliant poets, they were all iconoclast. They wanted to break and change everything through their poetry, through their understanding. So that really, and when Srijit, when they requested me to act in one of his films as a poet, and he said, Gautam sir, which kind of poetry you want to recite? I said, look, I'll write it down, my own one. So I wrote down those poetry for his film. And so it's something, poetry is always within human being. I think we all are poets, because there's a feeling of something which is not always real. It's a combination of real, unreal, and surreal. That's poetry, and that's how poetic images emerge in our vision. So I think that's I think even when I make films, I feel that that poetic vision remains within me, because that's very important expression, way of expression, where uh, every artist, even a painter, is also a poet in a way.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Agree to you. And whatever you have spoken about home, like it's real, surreal, or unreal, I believe that it goes well with cinema also because
Yeah.
uh, you have made documentary, you have made cinema. So somehow fiction and non-fiction cinema is like merging these days, and that kind of synergy is creating what you have spoken about cinema. So. I would like to know your take on documentary and how it is different from fiction cinema and what kind of research it involves. And can we, when you are making cinema and the kind of cinema you make, that definitely also involves research. So, where the differences and where you find that they cross to each other?
Well, all these years I've been making fiction, non-fiction, or you say feature, documentary simultaneously, because I love making non-fiction. I love making documentary. Documentary sort of enriches my vision. When you do a research on a particular subject, you learn so many things. You learn about the world, about people. So it's very interesting. And another thing, nowadays when people ask me, I say, no, I make films. Whether you make documentaries or fiction, it's a cinema. Because, I find there are many documentary elements you find in a fiction. When you watch a fiction film, there are many documentary elements sort of enter into the structure of a feature film. At the same time, uh, in a documentary, a fiction enters. Suppose when I made a film on Ustad Bismillah Khan or His Holiness Dalai Lama. So what happened? You know, Dalai Lama, His Holiness Dalai Lama or Ustad Bismillah Khan became my character, my hero. They were speaking, they were talking, they were sharing their experience. And, they were like wonderful actors. Take after take, they were the same because whatever they were saying, they were believing. So that was another, interesting learning because that's why I've continued making documentaries and it gives me a great pleasure. I remember there are on several occasions happened after one of my successful films, which was commercial also successful. I was poured with offers from the producer, of course, obviously. Come, please, we invest, make another feature film. You start immediately. I said, no, I'm tired of one feature film. Now I want to go with a small unit and travel to a far, far away land with my camera. And I will get fresh oxygen and come back and make another feature film. It happened. And I never cared for money, nothing at all, no material gain. I went all the way to Central Asia, all along the Silk Route, to China, to Tibet, and came back to India after driving 14,000 kilometers. And that was so enriching, sometimes more enriching than making a feature film. So it's a very interesting journey, that's why I say that uh, I'm a filmmaker. This is my medium. With that, I would love to explore both with the actors and also with the non-actors, real actors, I rather.
Sir, my next question is connecting to this only, that when you have already given our audience the hint that you have made a cinema on Bismillah Khan Sahab and then Satyajit Ray, Dalai Lama. So my question is that how difficult it is to make a documentary on somebody who is maybe alive or somebody who is being identified by people because people believe in them. So there are certain points which you have to keep in mind. So when you are dealing with such kind of celebrity who is being revered by a lot many people, then how process this creative exercise?
Well, when I made the film on Ustad Bismillah Khan Sahab or His Holiness Dalai Lama or another brilliant singer, Konika Bandopadhyay, the Tagore exponent, they were all alive. They're alive. And, I was facing a live personality. So it's very, very interesting that you have to face with courage and sensitivity. And you have to understand that person and how much I can learn from that person with humility. That's the most important thing. But when I was shooting with Ustadji, I was amazed to see his humility. Such a great musician, but humility is unbelievable. And also, it's very relevant for all time that he said, when he was being a Muslim Sanai player, when he was singing a thungri about Radha or a bhajan about Radha, he was crying. He was crying. Unbelievable. And, his humility is such that he says that I'm a very small artist. Whatever my fingers are doing with Shehnai is the fingers of Almighty, not mine. So, and when I met Dalai Lama, he was such a wonderful person and he was always joking and smiling. He said that smile is the most important thing in human being. Not air hostess smile, real smile. Okay. So he was a fantastic person. But when I made a film on Ray was just passed away a couple of years back. So his family and Ford Foundation had asked me to document Ray. But Ray's my interaction with Ray, with Satyajit Ray, was so fresh in my mind. So I was looking for a tool. I finally I found his notebooks, his script books, which is for nowadays, which call it workstation. It was like workstation, unbelievable. So it was my journey through those red books to find out Ray, or again to understand Ray and his films and his other works. So it's a very interesting that finally, I have learned so many things from this great personality, and it's a very interesting.
Yeah, question is being popped up.
You know, beauty capturing the paradoxes, false narratives, etc. Only to bring out the. Well, history is history, and there are many interpretations of history. You cannot interpret history in a homogeneous way. And that is very interesting argument about history, because and history is a continuous process. Suppose if we look at our own history, we may find something great from the ancient world, which was not so far discovered. So it's a continuous process. In my as a filmmaker, I think history is very important subject for me, because uh, as I said earlier, that present is a fraction, but only we can learn from the past, from the history. Whether but the interpretation of history, is a big question. But how you interpret the history, whether it was a colonial interpretation or our own interpretation, or interpretation from a subaltern point of view. So there are many views. So I think I have a free mind. I feel like accepting all kinds of views and form my own opinion. Anyway, coming back, what I learned again, a history from these great personalities. I also made a documentary on Sharajuri Naidu. It's a very interesting experience, especially her poems were so fascinating. So it's a great experience for me. And I made another documentary on a great artist, KG Subramaniam, great artist, scholar, and also a teacher. Uh, and when I made the film, he was almost 90 years old, but untiring mind. He was undaunted, and with such a fresh mind, I asked him, and I used to call him Manida. Manida was popularly was known to the students as Manida in Shantiniketan and Baroda. I said, Manida, at this age, you are doing so many things with all kinds of material, sometimes with sculpting, sometimes you're doing frescoes, sometimes all kinds of things, painting. Where do you get energy? He said, look, I'm getting old. I'm almost 90. Really, my system is getting old, but not my mind. And another thing which inspires me every morning when I get up and look at the morning, I find new images. That keeps me going on. That's fantastic. It's so inspiring that every morning you get up and find not only a new image, a new perception, a new vision for yourself. So I think these are great teaching of the masters, and teaching of our very complex history.
Yeah. So I was about to ask that from where you get the energy to work so persistently and all those, but I think I have, and all the audience, they have got the answer. So the people you are documenting, they are full of energy. So definitely, they have been your inspiration. Uh, Now my
Absolutely,
question,
absolutely.
yeah. So would like to switch little more to adaptation. Um, uh, because you have taken up some cinema which is based on novel and short stories, so especially Gudiya
Yeah.
from Shweta Devi. So if you can just throw light in the process, because adaptation is again a difficult task. Sometimes you have to add something to it, and sometimes you have to subtract. So how you decide that what should go in cinema and what is best
Well,
for cinematic audience?
both adaptation and original screenplay. Because I've done both, so I have experience. Because I had adapted from great literature, Manik Bandyopadhyay in both Man of Padma, Padmanavi Maji, then Mashada Devi, and many others, Sunil Ganguly, and well, when you really adapt from a novel or a story, you have to understand the psyche of the writer, his backdrop, and why you have chosen that particular story. Because you like that, you have liked it, you are inspired. You have to feel the same sort of throb inside you, because that is very important. You cannot really translate from literature to cinema. It's a totally a different medium. Because in literature, what happens when we read uh, a syllable, word, a sentence, that goes to your intellectual perception. People who can read, of course, there are a lot of people in our country they can't read. So those lines go straight to your intellectual perception first. Then from the intellectual perception, you form a visual perception. So the readers of literature, they have their own images, very subjective images. What you have, I may not have. But that's the process of intellectual perception to visual perception. Cinema is just the opposite. When you watch cinema, it's a visual perception first, then it goes to your intellectual perception where you try to analyze a film, its nuances and all. So it is impossible to translate from literature. You have to recreate a new language, a new language inspired from that literature, because the images are different. There are certain images where what you can write in literature, like smell. That early morning you're having a tea, something, the newspaper is over your table, and you can smell the fragrance of beautiful sunflowers all around. You can write. But in cinema, how you explain? Do the actor will do like this? Will start. No, not possible. So you have to create an ambience to show the fragrance of those flowers. So I think interesting, but and also another thing is very important, that uh, you have to add your own experience with the experience of the author. Author had written something from his own experience, and you have to add your own experience to it. Then it becomes a very original script, very good adaptation, in my opinion.
Uh, but sometimes, when you add your perception, the problem of loyalty to original text is always questioned. So, what's your take, sir, on this?
Well, adapting from a novel or story, there are advantages and disadvantages too. Advantage being that the story is already known and popular among a group of readers. You're sure that that group will hit the screen. They will go and watch the film. And disadvantage is that sometimes, as you said rightly, that I received so many letters after the release of Padmanavi Machi, both in it was a co-production, both in here and in Bangladesh. Why you have omitted those scenes in your film? Why you have added those dialogue? It was not there in the original. It's like that. So I had to answer the same thing. Try to understand, my dear sort of uh, viewer, that this is a difference. If I cannot really translate this passage into cinema, and there are certain passages in cinema which is impossible for a writer to write. It's difficult because sudden back and forth of time very fast. If you really write, of course, in the picaresque novel you find this back and forth. There are many experiments done by Joyce and also Proust, but it's difficult. It's difficult. But I don't think there is no enmity between literature and cinema. You can create a beautiful harmony between literary work and cinematic expression.
Yes, sir. Someone from the audience has asked that what kind of
I like
impact
to
do
say
you
something.
see of AI on cinema, artificial intelligence
AI,
on cinema?
well, artificial intelligence, of course, we know it's there, already there. It will again take away many jobs of the post production and many jobs in the art department. But still, I don't find very comfortable with AI. It might be very functional and good for the profit profit of the super corporate, but I really don't find very close to AI application. Uh, Even in today's cinema, there are so many digital applications. I also do some, not many, because I love those physical thing more. A lot of people ask me that what kind of digital technique you used for the climax of Par when Nasir and Shabana had crossed the river with a pack of swine. I said, no digital those days, my dear friend. It was all physical. They had to do it. So now today, what I prefer that with digital medium, you can do certain kind of correction. But keeping the digital mind, if you start shooting a film, some people do, well, we shoot fast and uh, solve the problem on digital platform. No, that is not done. You have to shoot it well. Then on the digital platform, you can make some fine tuning. That's all. So AI will create a lot of possibilities for remote control things. You can sit it at your home and do so many things through AI. But personally, I don't like. I want to get involved in the process of filmmaking. It's like your baby, And I have noticed that filmmaking more or less takes 10 months and 10 days to complete. Really speaking, it's like a childbirth. And a filmmaker becomes pregnant, and always he or she waits for the final when the final output comes as a advanced stage of pregnancy. So that's very, very important. I feel like participating at each and every stage without being intercepted by AI or other external methods.
Nehaji,
Okay, sir. I think Vijayji has one
yeah.
question. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I don't have question. Actually, I was listening. It is such a wonderful talk. You can just keep on listening. But I want to interfere because there are some people
GG.
like Geeta ji came just now. Geeta Dubey. She is a very
GG.
story. She's a story writer. She's from
Yes.
Jamshedpur. She is here for proposal of thanks. So I welcome her. And I also welcome so many people who have joined with Facebook Live. Like we have Pankaj Mitra. He is part of Srijan Samvad. We have Abha Vishwakarma. She is part of Srijan Samvad. Then some other people have joined and they want to join Srijan Samvad. Like Tejas Punya. He is very much in the films and film writing. So he wants to join this and he has some questions. One question Nehaji asked, and Omar Sharma also has a question. So if you answer this question, that will be good. And there
Uh,
are other people,
Gautam,
some new people have joined.
Gautam sir
I
has
welcome
already
all
answered.
of them. I welcome all of them. This one, Omaji's question. Omaji's question
Yeah, yeah.
answer. Was
Both
done.
the questions. Both the questions.
Okay, okay. Acha, one more thing, one more request from one of the audiences. Sorry, one of the audience that please add Hindi also. Please add Hindi
जी
also
जी
in
जी
your talk because
मेरा
there
हिंदी
are
अच्छा
people.
नहीं है
Yeah,
उतना.
yeah, and I know you can speak Hindi very well. नहीं
No,
कोई बात नहीं,
मगर
कोई बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं.
but
आप
in front
थोड़ी
of
सी हिंदी बोलिए
वो
ताकि हाँ ताकि लोग
fantastic
और
Hindi
आपका फायदा.
writers, I'll feel nervous. Anyway, next
नहीं
question
नहीं
please.
नहीं
आइए
ऐसे कुछ
बताइए बताइए
नहीं नहीं.
फरमाइए.
Yeah. Yeah, sir. The question, a typical media question, but I think you deserve that question. How it feels, after getting 17 national awards
Oh,
in
oh,
different capacities.
well, it's of course, and it's for both for feature and non-feature fiction. And I was always happy because of my unit, my unit members. They get so excited after getting a national award or international award. They immediately start calling from different parts, and okay, when we have a party, come, 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 come. So it's a love and for my unit members and the actors, because I have a very good relationship, always been, with my actors, big stars or very common non-actors and my unit members. So they feel very happy with recognition, being at national level or international level. I also feel happy.
जी सर, चूंकि हम लोग झारखंड से आपको जोड़ रहे हैं, तो मेरा
Hmm.
अंतिम सवाल जो है वो ये है कि ये राहगीर की शूटिंग के समय आप झारखंड में थे और आप लगातार झारखंड आते भी रहे विभिन्न वजहों से, तो आपको कैसा लगता है यहाँ पर और कितनी संभावनाएं आप यहाँ के फिल्म मेकर्स में देखते हैं या फिल्म बनाने की संभावनाएं इस जगह में देखते हैं?
मैं बचपन से झारखंड में का दीवाना हूँ. हम लोग को एक स्मॉल हाउस था हजारीबाग में, तो वी यूज्ड टू गो देयर ड्यूरिंग द विंटर, एंड मुझे इतना अच्छा लगता था जो लोकल पीपल and so simple people. I love Jharkhand. Of course, then it was Bihar, but also the Jharkhand ka culture jo hai is very very interesting, and its tribals and many other sort of people of different kinds. इतना मुझे बहुत ही अच्छा लगता है Jharkhand, and visually also fascinating. It is part of the Deccan, and you find a fantastic landscape. एंड राहगीर में हम लोग क्या किया, पूरा बारिश में बरसात में हम लोग लगातार 18 दिन, 18 से ज्यादा, 2 दिन ज्यादा हुआ, हम लोग शूटिंग किया. एंड वी वर फॉलोइंग द एक्ू वेदर, बिकॉज normally people say rain is bad for a film, but for us rain was necessary, because story में वैसा था, एक rain में how 3 people they are moving and how they save an really a very dying couple. This is a very human story, and मेरे ख्याल से झारखंड में जो हमने local actors को use किया, they are so good, so natural, unbelievable. But one problem is, of course, because the big impact of Bollywood cinema, वो तो है ही है ना, वो क्या किया जाए, because इतना successful film. I made a film for Bollywood, so I have nothing against Bollywood. मगर झारखंड में actors में और जो young filmmakers है, उनपे ये influence भी ज्यादा है. वो और actors हम जब हम रिहर्स किया और हम लोग ऑडिशन किया रांची में, तो मैंने पता चला एक्टर is doing too much, showing their strength, everything. No, be normal, don't act. आप अभिनय मत कीजिए, वही सबसे अच्छा अभिनय हो. तो ये तो होगा, you can't everywhere, but I love those sort of budding actors and excellent voices up there all over Jharkhand. And तरीके का जो folk music है, so many kinds, and the handicrafts, वो ताज्जुब की है, कमाल की है, जो handicrafts है झारखंड, fantastic. I love that.
थैंक यू। आशीष जी के कुछ सवाल हैं सर, अनम्यूट कर लीजिए आशीष जी, अनम्यूट कर लें आप।
गौतम दा, मैं ये पूछना चाहता था कि 70s और 80s में जो एक पैरेलल सिनेमा जो जिसको हम कहते हैं, जो एक तरह से बिल्कुल पीक पे था, खूब फिल्में बनती थी और एनएफडीसी जैसी सरकारी संस्थाएं उसको सपोर्ट करती थी, फंड करती थी, तो वो ज़माना बीत गया। तो क्या आज के ज़माने में इस तरह की फिल्म मेकिंग को सपोर्ट करने के लिए एनएफडीसी या प्राइवेट सेक्टर से किसी तरह का कुछ चीज़ें होनी चाहिए? आपके विचार से क्या किया जा सकता है?
मेरे विचार से ये जो यंग टैलेंट्स को प्रमोशन ओनली सरकारी कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि प्राइवेट सेक्टर का ऑफ कोर्स देयर सीएसआर एक्टिविटीज है, बट प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स विल नॉट कम, very unlikely. But it's a duty of the government, of the state government and the central government, to support young filmmakers. Because we made films for NSDC. I made film from the funding from the West Bengal state government. ये बहुत जरूरी है। झारखंड में मेरे ख्याल से कुछ सब्सिडी चल रहा है आजकल फॉर द यंग फिल्म मेकर्स, वो जरूरी है। नहीं तो you have to, because we are taxpayers, we are paying taxes, okay? So it's a government's duty to preserve our culture, our heritage. You have to preserve our archives. This is government's duty. It's very, very important. ये सरकार की एकदम बिल्कुल ड्यूटी है। तो आजकल एनएफडीसी मैं सुन रहा हूँ, क्या वो लोग फिर से प्रमोट करेंगे यंग फिल्म मेकर्स को? लेट्स वेट एंड सी, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी चेंज होने में कितना ज्यादा टाइम लगता है, वही एक प्रॉब्लम है। दैट्स अ रियल प्रॉब्लम। एनीवे, बट वी नीड सपोर्ट। एंड वन थिंग इज इंटरेस्टिंग दैट बिकॉज ऑफ डिजिटल filmmaking costs both come home. Now, young boys and girls with their small little pocket money, they can start making a film. If you can make a film with your mobile, it has 4K resolution camera, it has edit system, but for that you have to learn the language of cinema. That is very rarely हो रहा है। Okay, मेरे पास apparatus है, I can make a film. Every second person is a filmmaker nowadays. It's good, nothing against it. But you have to learn the language of cinema. So मेरे ख्याल से आपने जो क्वेश्चन किया, एक तो है सरकारी जो सपोर्ट जरूरी है, और एट द सेम टाइम इंडिपेंडेंट स्मॉल ग्रुप्स, दे शुड मेक ए न्यू काइंड ऑफ फिल्म विद अ न्यू लैंग्वेज। वो इवॉल्व होना चाहिए। नहीं इवॉल्व होने से हम लोग स्टैग्नेंट रह जाएंगे, हम लोग पीछे पर चले जाएंगे। Indian film was the same kind of bolega. No, in India also there are so many interesting filmmakers. They're trying to create a new kinds of cinema with a different kind of vision of their generation. वो जरूरी है मेरे ख्याल से।
And you almost
सरकारी अनुदान तो जरूरी है ही।
Right. And you almost answered half of my next question, which is on what is the role of film societies do you see in promoting good cinema, especially in a time when everyone is carrying a multiplex in their pocket. So, I mean, mobile phone, everyone has access to films and a lot of films. So, what would be the role of film societies in promoting good cinema?
मेरे ख्याल से फिल्म सोसाइटी बहुत ही जरूरी है। I'm still involved with film society movement. Of course, you find the viewers are middle-aged people. You don't find many young people, but still some young people they come. ये क्या है? Because technology. तो हम YouTube में देख लेंगे। Old film, great classic of Jean-Luc Godard or Visconti YouTube में देख लेंगे। No, you can see in YouTube. That's a great boon. Technology has sort of thrown open everything. मगर वो जो कलेक्टिव व्यूइंग है फिल्म सोसाइटी का, वो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है। कलेक्टिव व्यूइंग, साथ में बैठ के आप हंस रहे हैं, रो रहे हैं, एवरीथिंग, यू गेट पैनिकी, यू गेट एगनी, एवरीथिंग साथ में बैठ के, इकट्ठा इकट्ठा सब मिलके, you know. And after that, film society members, when they discuss a cinema, that is very important in my opinion. And because otherwise, film studies, फिल्म का जो चर्चा चाहिए, फिल्म को चर्चा चाहिए, वो चर्चा बंद हो जाएगा। तो आप लोग जो लोग अभी अब लोग इन्वॉल्व है फिल्म सोसाइटी मूवमेंट में, आपको बधाई हो, और ये आप जारी रखिए, ये बहुत ही जरूरी है, इवन फॉर द न्यू जनरेशन।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर ने।
आशीष जी,
आर वी फिनिशिंग?
हम लोग यस 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 बिल्कुल सर। काफी लंबा समय हो गया है और लगभग सारे सवालों के जवाब मिल गए। हालांकि सवाल तो सर इतने हो सकते हैं क्योंकि 50 साल का जो आपका सिनेमा का इतिहास है, दैट कैन नॉट बी लाइक सम अप इन 1 hour or 1.5 hours.
You need another session. Another session, of course.
Yes, definitely we would like to. We would like to talk about the language of cinema from you any other time, whenever you have time for that. So
absolutely.
लेकिन इस समय जी, तो सर ये मास कम्युनिकेशन डिपार्टमेंट में बताना चाहूंगी कि ये पहला है झारखंड का, और 25 सालों से चल रहा है, और बहुत सारे यहाँ के विद्यार्थी जो हैं वो इस समय सिनेमा से जुड़े हुए हैं और अच्छा कर रहे हैं। और पुराना होने के नाते एक अच्छी सीनियर्स का हमारे पास ग्रुप हो गया है, तो हम लोग उम्मीद करते हैं ये कि झारखंड में और सिनेमा बनेगा तो उनको भी बहुत ज़्यादा इसका फायदा मिलेगा। लेकिन ये है कि ये ज़रूर कह सकते हैं कि शॉर्ट फिल्म्स का एक मूवमेंट तो हमने ज़रूर यहाँ पर तैयार किया है। तो फिल्म स्क्रीनिंग और छोटी छोटी फिल्मों का बनना, ये जो है वो चूँकि वो मास कम्युनिकेशन पढ़ रहे हैं और उनको डिप्लोमा फिल्म्स बनानी होती हैं, तो ये बहुत शुरू हुआ है और बच्चे लगातार 10-15 सालों से इस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं। तो ये एक हमारी उपलब्धि रही है। लेकिन अब हम लोग बिल्कुल अंतिम चरण में है कार्यक्रम के, तो मैं गीता जी को आमंत्रित कर रही हूँ कि वो धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करें। हालांकि शब्दों में धन्यवाद देना सर आपको बहुत मुश्किल है, लेकिन एक जो माध्यम है वो शब्द नहीं हो सकते हैं, इसलिए गीता जी आप आमंत्रित हैं।
थैंक यू नेहा जी, आपने सही कहा, शब्दों में धन्यवाद ज्ञापन नहीं हो सकता है। ये तो बहुत ही अच्छी शाम रही आज की। और नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। It was such a delightful talk that I wish it could have continued a bit longer. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to thank a true luminary in the world of cinema. आज एक अलग अनुभूति हुई, एक अलग एहसास हुआ। बल्कि मैं तो यह कहूंगी कि गौतम घोष जी को सुनना ही एक उपलब्धि है। सर, आपने कहा आप जमशेदपुर पसंद करते हैं, आप झारखंड भी पसंद करते हैं, सुनकर हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा। सिनेमा जगत में समय के साथ साथ, टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ साथ काफी बदलाव आए, लेकिन एक चीज नहीं बदली, वो है सिनेमैटिक आर्ट। और भी बहुत सी जानकारी हमें सिनेमा के बारे में मिली। आपने कहा हमें अपने आप को अपडेट करते रहना चाहिए, नहीं तो हम पीछे रह जाएंगे। आपने विभाजन के दर्द को भी बयां किया। आपने कहा इंसानियत अधिकार है, यह आपकी फिल्मों में देखने को मिलती है। मैं सृजन संवाद की ओर से गौतम घोष जी की आभारी हूँ कि इतनी व्यस्तता के बावजूद आपने हमारे लिए समय निकाला और हमारे बीच उपस्थित हुए। Please accept our gratitude for your presence, sir. I thank Mr. Ashish Kumar Singh for introducing Mr. Gautam Ghosh to us, and I thank and congratulate Dr. Neha Tiwari for very efficient and effective moderation. मैं सृजन संवाद परिवार के प्रत्येक सदस्य की आभारी हूँ जो शुरू से अंत तक इस कार्यक्रम से जुड़े रहे। मैं मीडिया बंधुओं की भी आभारी हूँ, मैं फेसबुक लाइव की आभारी हूँ, और अनुराग रंजन जी की विशेष आभारी हूँ जिन्होंने यह सारा कुछ अरेंज किया। मैं सृजन संवाद की स्तंभ डॉक्टर विजय शर्मा को हृदय से धन्यवाद देती हूँ, जिनकी वजह से हमें बड़ी बड़ी हस्तियों को सुनने का सुअवसर मिलता है। एंड बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद विजय मैम। On behalf of Srijan Samvad family and on my behalf, I extend our best wishes to Mr. Gautam Ghosh ji for all his future projects. Once again, thank you, sir. Thank you to all.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To make one
Thank you so much once again. Sir, is it something?
हम
जी
हम एक
May I
बार
read?
जरूर
वन
आपको
मोर सितंबर माह की गोष्ठी हमारी सितंबर माह की गोष्ठी साहित्य से रिलेटेड होगी और साहित्य से रिलेटेड है, इसलिए हम लोग होंगे हाँ इस बार जो गेस्ट होंगे। ओके ओके जी जी कहिए।
गौतम सर आप कुछ कह रहे थे?
आप कुछ कह रहे हैं?
नहीं, कुछ नहीं। मैं आभारी हूँ होल जो आपको ग्रुप है, फैंटास्टिक। और मे बी हम लोग फिजिकल सेमिनार करेंगे जमशेदपुर में लेटर, वो अच्छा
बहुत
होगा।
अच्छा लगा है।
मे बी यू आर लव टू इंटरैक्ट विद मीडिया स्टूडेंट।
Yes, sir.
एक बार फिर अवश्य
मे
सुनना
आई लीव
चाहेंगे।
नाउ? मुझे इजाजत दीजिए।
Yes. जी सर।
ओके ओके ओके। अगले महीने में हम लोग साहित्य पर गोष्ठी कर रहे हैं और उसमें अलका सरावगी वो हमारी गेस्ट होंगी जो कि उपन्यासकार है और अभी हाल में उनका एक उपन्यास आया है, उसी पर हम अपनी चर्चा केंद्रित करेंगे। तो प्लीज सितंबर मास की गोष्ठी में भी जुड़िए और जो लोग भी जुड़ना चाहते हैं सृजन संवाद से, आपको नंबर यहाँ दिखाई दे रहा है, उस नंबर पर अपना नाम और अपना व्हाट्सएप नंबर मुझे दे दीजिए। एंड थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू। थैंक यू डॉक्टर नेहा, थैंक यू आशीष जी, थैंक यू गीता जी एंड
सबसे बड़ा थैंक यू आपको सबको जोड़ने के लिए।
हाँ, सबसे बड़ा थैंक यू आपको।
अरे नहीं, सब लोग संग में रहते इसीलिए काम हो पाता
बहुत
है।
अच्छा।